What up, YouTube? Today's project got a OBS truck dropped off here the other day. Regular cab short bed. It's getting rockers and all over. Bed's pretty straight on it. Floor in it's actually in real good shape. Especially, for one of these trucks. A lot of these got worked. Other side's in pretty good shape. It's a little scuffed, but is what it is. We'll do the rockers and a paint job and that won't matter. But over here, it's got some rot down in here. It's got a little bit in the taillight pocket that I'll treat, I think. And it's got a big dent right there. So I don't have the panel for that today. I wanted to do a full bedside on it. Customer doesn't want to spend the money on a bedside. I don't know. I get it. I see both sides of it. A bedside's easier to do, and it's one solid straight sheet of metal. In my opinion, it would have been the way to go. Guy's not looking to be super picky, kind of just wants a clean little driver, something he's not afraid to work out of a little bit if he wants to. So he already had this panel. We're gonna put it in. I don't really like doing patch panels. I've done on the Broncos and stuff, these, and it's miserable because it wants to warp real bad. So I'm gonna try something new, at least new to me. I've heard of guys doing this on the cab corners. It's not my favorite thing in the world, but what I'm thinking is I've already trimmed that panel down a little bit and it scribed a line at the top of that tape. And I'm gonna cut it down here below so I have this little lip. And I think, where this wheel flare or whatever you want to call it, where this body line comes through here, that part I will section in and just do a butt joint like normal. But I think what I'll do is kind of cut it across here till I get into the flat and then come down and then carry my cut across the bottom. And then I have a flanging tool here, which we can get more into that in a little bit. But what that does is you can see the two, I guess, dies, for lack of a better words. And whenever you press that trigger, it crimps and puts a little flange in a piece of metal. So my idea is, I haven't made up my mind 100% on it. I'm still kind of working this out. But if I could do the same thing over here, come across till I get into the flat and cut it and leave this lip, I could either overlap that panel onto the bedside and spot weld it like every inch or so down through here and keep the warp out of it, or I thought about even panel bonding it in between. And the reason I say panel bond is just to keep the heat out of the panel and kind of as a corrosion protection, because that's what I don't like about it, is you have that flange, so it's potentially an area for moisture to hold and rust. So I'm not convinced that I'm going to do it for sure, but right now that's kind of what I'm thinking, because if I have to weld this entire thing, like I've seen on the extended cab corners on these and doing these, it seems like no matter how much I slow it down, how much I move around with my tacks, it always wants to warp on me. So I'll keep y'all updated on it. Right now that's the plan, and it's very much subject to change. But for now, I'm going to come in here and cut. Might cut down here just to be safe and cut this out of it, get that shape gone, so that I can let this sit in here with this body line or whatever on this body line, and then I'll put 2 sheet metal screws for reference holes in there. That way when all this is gone and there's nothing to line it up with, I don't have to worry about this line getting down or up. I can put it in them reference holes and know that when it was screwed into those holes before, all of this channel was sitting down in here, and it's going to stay straight and true down the side of the truck. Of course, we'll put the eagle eye on it like Puddin would say, and make sure it's straight. But that's kind of my plan of attack on it right now anyways. The other thing is this panel just kind of abruptly ends right there. It doesn't have a lip or anything to beat over. So I guess, I don't know. See, the factory one does, and it's rusty down in there. that's another thing we're gonna have to work out. I'm gonna have to think on that, but it is an ongoing problem. Anyway, I'll get back to y'all in a little bit when this thing's chopped up more. All right, so this is a really good example. I'm actually glad I didn't tape before because it just kind of highlights what I'm about to say. When I originally put this panel up here and scribed the line, where occasionally I see guys mess up, and it's a pretty big screw up usually when they do it, is they'll put the panel up there, scribe the line, chop it out right at the line. Well, you can see when I took this piece out that panel was having a hard time fitting over, it let everything kind of scoot in closer basically. It let the panel lay down more flat, and when I did, instead of the line being up here, it moved down here. You can look down the truck and see that everything's still straight, and with that old panel still being back there, like I said, all I've done is remove the piece that was causing this to kind of be in a bind. I can look and feel in here that this channel is in the channel that's still attached to the truck. So everything's lined up good and straight, but had I cut this where the original scribe line was, I would have had this big nasty 1/4 inch wide gap all the way through here. And then what you're stuck doing is welding a piece onto the back side and welding 2 seams instead of 1. It's ugly, it's a place for rust, it's a mess. You can fix it, I mean, it's all metal, you can weld it together, but why would you, just do it right the first time. So, all that being said, I'm gonna get my screws in here now, and might go ahead and scribe my lines to here, and then make me some reference marks or something, I don't know. I'm just gonna wing it a little bit, but let me get back to work on this. I like what I'm seeing back there, I think. I use these little 1/4-inch hex head screws, like what's on like a metal roof. Like these are left over from doing some work on the shop, but I like them because they're a hex head. They're not a Phillips or a Torx, so you don't really have to worry about stripping them. And they got the rubber washer, so it's a little, cushion on the panel. Some people might think that it's kind of hacky. I don't really care. This is how I like to do it. It leaves a little bit bigger hole, but a welder will weld it right up. So. If you think those screws are hacky, you ought to look at like Bad Chad or that bald guy on TikTok that claims he's a master painter and can paint cars for $100 and all that. I don't feel so bad about this when I compare it to people like that. So, not to talk bad on people, but you shouldn't be spreading bad advice so confidently where people believe you and do it to their own cars. But anywho, I'm getting carried on a little bit of an opinion. Let me grab a few things and work this out. All right, made me a line through all this body line and stuff, made a mark where to stop my cut, and same thing here, line around, stopping it right in here. Gonna pull the 2 screws out and decide where I want to cut it down here. Like I said, we're gonna do that drop down, and I'll get this all chopped up, and I guess go ahead and flange it across here, and then worst case, if I hate it, I can just cut it out and do a butt joint across the whole thing. But that'll be miserable trying to weld all that up without warping it. So let's hope the flange works out. Let's not stress about problems that aren't problems yet. Tell you what I'm gonna do. I changed my mind a little bit. Not about what I'm doing, just how to do it. Okay, so now what I think is the best thing to do is to, let's carry this line all the way across here. So now That right now, if I wanted to butt joint it, that's where I'd cut it. If you were gonna do that, if you're watching this and you decide you want to butt joint it, cut it just barely below, like leave the line there and just cut right on the bottom side of it, because you can always creep up to it. I'm telling you, anytime you're doing something like this, leave more metal than you think you need and build up to it, because it's a hell of a lot easier to cut more out than it is to add metal or have to do like a sleeve or whatever in there. My advice, you do what you want, it's your truck, I don't really care, but just hopefully that'll help somebody out. Now what I'm gonna do is take this strap piece that I cut off of this panel, because I didn't like it went all the way up to the top. I cut it down just so I don't have to pull body working up into that. But let's see if I can get where you guys can see what I'm doing. Taking that flange tool with them dies, and I'm gonna take that metal and make sure it's seated all the way up in there, and just put that flange in it for just a little section. That's kind of ugly. I'll take more time with it and not try to worry so much about filming it on there, but you get the idea. So now what I can do is measure. It's hard to get it on camera, but that flange is right around, just call it, all right, I don't know if you guys can see it. Measuring that flange, it looks like it's right around 3/8 of an inch. So now I can come, just call it, yeah, right at 3/8 of an inch below this, and make me a mark. And then when I flange it, the top of my patch panel should sit right up and flush with like the higher point of the flange. I butchered explaining that all to hell, but I'm gonna show you what I mean anyways, so. Hey, what, it's a beautiful day today. It's been so cold and wet and rainy and nasty for so long, and today is just gorgeous. I got the doors open and the sun's shining. It's just a nice change of pace. I mean, it really is. It was nice this weekend as far as being dry, but good grief, it was cold. The wind was ripping. Get over here closer. Black Sharpie shows up really good on black paint. If you didn't know, now you do. Make me another mark. 3/8 of an inch there. I've been using this fine line tape because I'm out of 1-inch tape, and I have a ton of this that I bought from an auction one time, so. All right. That's gotta be pretty close right there. Come across here a couple times and check. Oh yeah. Dang, dude. That looks good. So now the top of this piece of tape right here is 3/8 of an inch away from this line. So basically we're gonna cut at the top here, or no, not at the top. We're gonna cut at that Sharpie line, across, and then down, and then cut to the top of this bottom piece of tape, and then back up to the Sharpie line. Somebody getting down on it out there. Little Integra, I don't know what they're doing, but making a hell of a lot of noise doing it. Put these on safety third. she got one of them Chevy tailgates on her. Find some channel locks. As a kid, we used to have a water truck because where we lived at didn't have city water. You had to haul it in. You go into town and there'd be like these little places you put in tokens and it send water out. We had it was a weird truck. It was an extended cab long bed, maroon, like 89. So it had the 4-eye look up front, but it was 3/4 ton stick shift, 2-wheel drive. It was just a really weird combination. It's still in our family. Our aunt has it. It's kind of just like sitting around there, not doing nothing with it. At least they weren't last time I seen it. But anyways, the tailgate was always so junky on it, and now back then I just thought that's just the way it had to be, that it was broke. But now I realized like I could have probably fixed that tailgate in a half hour and not had to go grab channel locks every single time. And you know, you go to one of these junkyards around here, they'll damn near give you the stuff to fix it. I don't know. It's just funny. That made me think of that. So, how do we cut here? I really wanted to try to do this without taking the back bumper off, which is kind of dumb because the back bumper's got to come off anyways. Either the back bumper's coming off or the bed's coming off. Might be the bed, honestly, because the bed's got to slide back. But I think I have an idea where maybe I can get around doing that for now, because it's just going to majorly slow me down and I'll lose my motivation, and then I'll want to go home and get something to eat, and this will turn into a fucking 2-day deal. I'm gonna try to do this without taking the truck all apart. If you don't have a belt sander like that and you do stuff like this, you need to go get you one. It's the best money you'll ever spend. So handy. Right, $90 at Harbor Freight. But they just get places that nothing else will. If this broke today, I'd buy a new one tomorrow, which is very well possible. This thing is kind of on its last leg. Forgot to take that dumb brace off. I don't know about that one, guys. It's pretty rusty. Looks like it's gonna break. Don't grab any penetrating oil or heat. Just go straight into breaking it. That's left. We're off to a great start on that one. I don't know why I grabbed those gear wrenches. So it's came halfway out and then got tight again. So the end of it was all rusty. I just ground the end of the bolt off and we tweaked the brakes, but we didn't break it. So that's still a win. Glad we didn't cut that. This thing was crusty, guys. Crusty, crusty, crusty. Man, it's really rusty down in here. Be honest, I might cut some of this out, or I don't know. Should have just bought a bed for it. If only somebody would have suggested that. Oh well, we're in it now. This is where it gets a little tricky because I don't want to be the guy that's like texting you every 5 minutes with a problem and, you know, stressing you out, because that's why you pay a guy to do it, so you don't have to think about it. But I also don't want to read people's minds. I don't want to assume that he would want me to keep going after seeing something like that. And I don't want to assume, I don't know, I don't want to spend a bunch of time on fixing it and he didn't really care. Although I really don't know what there is to do for it as far as fixing it. But I don't know. I guess I'm gonna have to call him, see what he wants to do. In the meantime, just for shits and giggles. Oh yeah, that's looking mighty nice right there. I am currently realizing something, and that is, sorry, where is that tool? Okay, we're good. I was worried that these dies were facing the wrong way because I can't like get the tool in like this, but right there. Yep, it's gonna work nice. Got lucky on that one a little bit. I like when I get to use this thing. I don't get to use it very often. When you're doing this, if you do it, hold it nice and flat. Don't want to get it twisted. Hold it nice and flat up in there and watch your fingers because that thing will bite you. Keep them back here. Can y'all see that? The camera angle's a little not good, but there is a flange in it now. I didn't track the paint and stuff. It needs to be cleaned up, but you get the idea. Now that there's a flange in there, in theory anyways, I've never tried this, but I feel like it should work. Really, I got something all over my hands just now. Something like grease or oil or something. Guys, what did I do with my screws? Well, shoot. Grab 2 new screws, I guess. So let's see what we're working with now. Shoot, that don't look too bad. I can slide this up, close that gap up. I wonder if flanging that didn't mess with that hole a little bit, but this is flush as can be right here. Man, I think I might panel bond that. I think I might make me a new hole over here to get that gap closed. Strip this down to bare metal, both of them. Panel bond it nice and good. And weld it in here. What's that noise? Anyways, weld it through here, put the brace on it, and panel bond that whole seam, because that's so flush and straight. I don't want to weld that and warp it, so that's the plan though. It totally works doing it that way. Not my favorite thing in the world, but it's way better than welding it, in my opinion. Can't hardly see the back side of it very good, but so that's a good thing in my opinion. Hides the seam up inside here. So that just leaves the question of what do we do with the rust on the inside? Question which I don't have the answers to. I can tell you right now, the guy probably don't want to buy another bed from what vibe I got off of him the other day. That's pretty crusty. I'm gonna chip away at it and see what's what and think about that for a little bit. All right, so I did a little work off camera. Video's starting to get a little longer than I intended. All I did is I just cleaned this flange up all the way across, because you need bare metal for the panel bond to stick, and you need bare metal to weld. So I cleaned it up all the way across there. And then on this, I just cleaned up the areas I intend to weld. And then on the back side, clean the areas I'm panel bonding. And now I'm gonna mix up my panel bond because I don't have any mixing tips, so I gotta do it by hand. And we're gonna wanna put panel bond on both this panel and this panel. And we'll get some sheet metal screws in it and gonna let it sit overnight. It's the end of the day. I'm actually working late. Come back tomorrow, and what'll be nice about doing it that way, not that I have any doubts, but maybe just for the sake of this video, you'll be able to see just how strong this panel bond stuff is, because it won't have any welds, it won't have any bolts. The panel in the morning will just be held on with panel bond. Now, like I said earlier, if you're listening, you know we're gonna weld here and here, and it'll have the brace at the bottom. So for the finished product, that's not all that's gonna be holding it, but for the time being, it'll be a fun little experiment, I guess. I have heard I've never heard a bad thing about panel bond. I just tore this brush all to shit. But I've heard guys say that they can panel bond two pieces of metal together. Sorry, I had an ongoing situation. I've heard guys say that they can take and sandwich two pieces of metal together with panel bond, and you do the work, prep it right, don't half-ass it. But when they prep it right, they can take two pieces and do like that. And I've heard from more than one reliable source that they've seen with their own eyes. They put it on a frame rack, hook a clamp to one piece of metal, hook a clamp to the other, and you can't pull them apart. Say it'll rip the steel before it messes up the panel bond joint, and I believe it. I mean, I've had cars that I've fixed get in accidents after the fact and come back, and panel bond wasn't a problem. I actually did one time. It was a Tahoe. I put a quarter panel on it. Got lucky on this deal. I was moving. I was working in Alabama. Was fixing to move, and towards the end of my 2 weeks notice there, this Tahoe that I had put a quarter panel on like not even a month prior came back in and had got hit on that exact same quarter again. So then this old man Bob that worked there, he had to go back because I was leaving. They weren't giving me any more cars. I was working through what I had and then getting out of there. He ended up having to go through and put another quarter panel on it, which if you've ever put a panel on after somebody sucks, because for one, those flanges have done been worked once, so they're kind of, getting a little on the thin side. And for two, I throw a lot of extra welds and glue, and it's usually tougher when you get done putting a panel on than it was from the factory, so I'm sure he had a good time with it. I never heard how that worked out, but interesting anyways, the exact same spot. On that note, not to get too deep into storytelling, that same job, same guy actually, Bob, put a rocker panel section in on like a Chevy Express van, like a work van or whatever, and got it done. It was a pain in the ass. Had to do a bunch of stuff on the floor. Had to do rocker extension, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, long story short, gets it done. Owner of the shop calls customer. It was someone we'd done a lot of business with. It was a commercial account. He tells them, hey, your van's ready, whatever, come get it. They say, all right, we'll be there to get it in a little bit. Like I was saying, they say, okay, we'll come get it. Tommy, probably shouldn't have mentioned names, but I doubt he even watches YouTube to care. We were short a cleanup guy. We were always short a cleanup guy. We'd hire one, they wouldn't work out, and then we'd be right back to square one. So the owner, give him some credit here, will go out there and wash the cars himself. And what ended up happening, he gets this thing cleaned up, it's done, goes to pull it around the front or whatever, leave it out there for the guy to pick up, and gets up against one of them yellow poles and hits this damn van in the same spot that it was hit when it showed up. I'm telling you, you couldn't hardly tell a difference from when it showed up the first time to the damage he done to it. It looked identical. Everything that Bob had just done to it was absolutely nothing at that point. It sucked. Like it wasn't funny at the time, but it kind of was too. Like it was done, and now here you are, right back where you started. Had to call the customer, explain to them what was going on. He got it. He understood. Shit happens, but wasn't a good day. It wasn't a good day for them. I didn't really care. Not to be like rude about it or nothing, but it just didn't affect me. It sucked for everybody else involved, but kind of kept doing my thing. Just stayed clear of the front office that day. trying to fill this gap in a little bit, because grind it down and be good as body filler basically in there. So overall, it's not perfect. I got a little more of a gap here than what I was hoping, but I can clamp that up, and that's weldable for sure. Back here is a lot better. It's nice and tight. I tried to pick this up and put another screw in it, but what ended up happening was it kind of pulled it up over that panel, and I don't want that, because then I'll be, if they're not flat with each other, I'll have to do all sorts of body work to try to chase it or try to hammer it out. And right now, everything's good and flat. It's gonna be real minimal body work, so I'll keep it that way. Tomorrow, when all this is good and hardened, we'll pull things around and tack it and get this brace in it to hold it there. Finesse everything tomorrow, but that's it for today. Of course, that doesn't matter to you because it's tomorrow, but for now, I'm going home. Thanks for watching this far. All right, good morning, YouTube. It is the next day, and I was expecting this panel bond to be a little more cured than what it is. I got to reading on the tube, and the cure time's 24 hours. I think I was thinking about a different product, but either way, it's fine. It's curing. It's just still fingerprinting a little, but I went ahead and welded these seams up here. I still got to do a little work in there. And I welded that seam there up. And then I drilled and put me a new bolt down in there. And I'll tell you what, the thing is rock solid. It's every bit as solid as it was before. So now, well, I'll show you. You can see a little bit of a dimple in it right here, which may come out with that screw, but that's gonna be real easy to body work, a hell of a lot easier than if it was all warped from having to do a long weld there. I was talking yesterday about what I was gonna do here, but looking, they gave me enough here to be able to trim and beat around. So I'm gonna get in here and probably pull that hinge off, get rid of all this rust, and then figure out how I'm gonna work this around. But kind of starting to get the idea of how that's gonna work. I wish I had my other patch panel. I'd go ahead and do that front one, which for anyone who's got the comment about straightening it, it could be straightened. I actually pitched the idea of straightening it at first. It's got all this body filler and rust and stuff down in here, so it just is what it is. That's what the customer wants to do. He doesn't want to pay for bedsides, and he doesn't want me to straighten that. So who am I to tell a guy what he wants? I can try to guide, but here we are. Anywho, need a little bit of work right in that area there, but she is coming right on along. All right, guys, gonna wrap this thing up here now, but just want to show you. You can see this folded over real nice and pretty right there. And all I did there is I just took a straight edge and kind of scribed me a line on that panel. You can see where it was overhanging. Scribed me a line. I took these, I've got these. I don't know if you don't, you could probably use regular pliers. Just be careful. I like these. They got a smooth jaw on them. They're Nipix and they close flat. So I just use those to kind of grab it and get it started bending over just ever so slightly. And then I took a body hammer and nice and evenly worked it around. If you hit it more on the edge, it'll, I mean, think about leverage. If you hit it close to the base of the fulcrum, which is in this case, that point right there, it's not gonna wanna bend more. If you hit it way out on the edge, it'll come around nice and clean. Work it evenly. Don't beat one side all the way flat and then try to do it. Work it across nice and flat, and you'll end up with this nice, clean, smooth bend. Then you can just come up in here and trim that little ear off of that. Looks nice and clean and factory. I'm gonna do the same thing here, cut it and bend it down. The only reason I didn't take it all the way is because you can see it does have this body line in it. Same thing right here. So when I cut this, I'll cut it here, work this around one section at a time. But I may end up just beating this around and then just chop that off there. I don't know yet. This will get left alone because we're gonna pull the bed off for paint anyways. So I think I'm gonna bend that one little piece around and then make myself a note somewhere on the bedside so I don't forget that when this bed comes off the truck for paint, I need to trim that up and finish it. But that's gonna wrap this video up. There's lots of videos on body filler. All that's left to do from here is for this panel bond to cure, pull the screws out, grind the welds down nice and clean, do a skim coat of body filler, and just body work the panel, you know, do your primer, all that. But yeah, that's gonna wrap this one up. Hope it helps somebody. It's kind of a neat way of doing it. I've definitely never done one that way. I gotta say, I'd probably do it again if I had to do that job over. I do get to do it again. I'll do it right there. So, all right, guys, thanks for watching. All right, doing a light check on this truck before disassembly, just for future reference. Of course, it came in with no tail lights in the back, and up front here looks like, I think those are the highs. We have both of those. But we switch to these. Only got one working. I'm assuming turn signal. Got nothing going on there. Okay. Just for future reference, if it was to come up.